Tuesday morning. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. It is great to be back with you here from the weather desk where we cover today's top weather headlines. I enjoyed some vacation last week, had a high school reunion. So much fun, but it is good to be back here on the weather desk. And we've got a lot to go over today. Let's take a look at some of our topics. We're going to be tracking the tropics. There's an area the Hurricane Center has been keeping an eye to over the northeast part of Mexico. And it's already producing some very heavy rain over parts of Texas. Some of the heaviest rain's been offshore, but there are some flood issues out there. We'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about other areas that have been impacted by flooding and the severe weather outlook. And it is going to get a little interesting over the next couple of days. I will show you one part of the country that I'm particularly concerned with coming up tomorrow. There's a very good chance that we're going to have a tornado outbreak, and we'll show you that area coming up. California's been dealing with a king tide, and we're going to update you on the situation there on the West Coast. We've got a beach and boating forecast for Hampton Roads, but unfortunately we got some tough news on a story we've been following from Santa Cruz with a couple of folks that were at the beach that got into trouble. We've got a sad update with that, but we will update you on our local beach and boating forecast as well. Then we've got caught on camera lightning striking New York City. Really cool pictures there, and another fireball over the southeast U.S. We'll show you where that was spotted. We're also going to look ahead to Sail 250. Huge tall ship event here in Hampton Roads, and it is something that if you're in southeast Virginia or northeast North Carolina, it is worth your while to get into our beautiful harbor here in Norfolk to check that out. If you've been around, if you're a long timer, as I have been here, we got to enjoy, there was an op sail 2000. There was another second op sail that was just awesome with a bunch of tall ships. This is going to be even bigger, even grander than that with a parade of sail coming Friday. We'll talk about the upcoming weekend. Let's start off, though, by talking about the tropics. And you can see at the ocean front, things are pretty quiet here, but that's not the case as we get into some of the other conditions across the region. You can see right now, surf height about 2 feet. The water temperature is 72, and we've got pretty good conditions out there. It is overcast, so that's a little bit of a bummer. But I wanted to point out that the UV index is high. The rip current threat is low. We can take this graphic full. I want to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to step over for just a second here and talk a little bit more about what's going on because, again, other areas not in as good a shape. We're going to take a look at the tropical update right now. Folks down around Corpus Christi and Galveston, areas down towards Brownsville, these areas along the Texas coast are paying close attention because the Hurricane Center has identified this area here as an area they want to keep investigating. They're running models on it, and there is some potential that as this moves over the western Gulf, it may develop. So we'll take a little closer look at that. We've seen some storms kind of bubbling up around this. It's not well organized. When they're over land, they can't become truly tropical. They can tap tropical moisture. That happens all the time. But as far as really blossoming and becoming a tropical system, it needs to be out over water, and the water temperatures need to be warm. The thinking is that as that moves out over the water over the next day or so, there is some potential for development in here. That's our big concern. So as we switch things over to the radar, you can see some heavy tropical rains right along the Gulf Coast there down into Mexico south of Brownsville, and there's also been very heavy rain around Corpus Christi. So we'll take a look here at the expanded view, and I want you to know, apart from this, the rest of the Gulf is quiet. The Caribbean looks pretty good. There's a little bit of convection there between Cuba and Haiti, a little bit back over the eastern Caribbean, but nothing that's showing signs of organization. The rest of the basin looks good. But it's this area here that we're watching most closely as there is that potential for additional development. So we'll take a look at this area again around Corpus Christi that is under flood warning right now. This is going to run a bit longer, even though they had that heaviest rain. That's what prompted the flood warning, but there's some more moderate to heavy rain coming into this area. I'll put the information up on it. About just under 400,000 people affected by this flash flood warning, and it's going to run until 11:15 East time, Central Daylight Time there, 10:15 So we've got another, say, 2 hours or so left on this flash flood warning, and that does include Corpus Christi, Kingsville, Portland, and Robstown in Texas. So we'll continue to watch that. Look at the rain, though. It extends up towards Houston. There's another flood advisory north of Houston. Flood warnings around Alexandria. Just a lot of moisture here along the Gulf Coast, and that's going to be a big concern. Now, when we take a look at the flash flood outlook for today, the excessive rainfall or flood potential is very likely from Corpus Christi up through Houston and areas north of that. This does include several of these communities, as we mentioned, right along the coast. These barrier islands all need to be prepared to deal with excessive rainfall. I mentioned Galveston, Houston, back over to Liberty, Beaumont, down through areas around Lake Charles and Cameron, back over into central Louisiana, Lafayette, Jackson. You head into Fort Polk. These areas all with this high, very likely threat of flash flooding. Natchez, Brookhaven, Crystal Springs, these areas extending over south of Jackson. So a lot of flood potential with this heavy rain pouring into this part of the country. You'll notice all the way out through central Georgia, there is a likely risk of flash flooding, but it's a serious shaded in red that we are most concerned with. Now, that tropical system has been causing flash flooding in the southern U.S. About 20 million people are impacted, as I mentioned, from Texas all the way through Mississippi, and areas off to the east of that could see more. This is a look at how people who live in Shreveport, Louisiana are dealing and preparing to deal with it. They put sandbags out. Plenty of rain has already come down, and there's a lot more on the way. Here's ABC's Hannah Battah.
This morning, life-threatening flash flooding swamping millions across the South. The governor of Texas declaring a disaster for more than 100 counties across the state.
There's a car just floating down the median.
In Waco, highways turned into rivers. Vehicles washed down the interstate as fast-moving water overtook the road.
Literally, I'm not kidding you, thought I was going to die out here.
First responders rescuing dozens of people, even using ropes to pull one trapped driver to safety. In Houston, stranded motorists forced to push their cars through flooded streets as debris, including this grocery cart, drifted by. Not far from there, a postal worker had to abandon her truck after it was left leaning into a flooded ditch. Powerful storms unleashing torrential rain, while some areas expecting up to 10 inches. Residential neighborhoods inundated. The dangerous flooding also stretching into Louisiana and Mississippi. In Shreveport, fire trucks pushing through high water as the storm moves across the region. Hannah Battah, ABC News, New York.
In Oklahoma, fast rising floodwaters stranded more than a dozen campers. This is a look at a campsite in Oklahoma, not too far from the Arkansas state line. Firefighters had to use rescue boats to bring all 15 people to safety. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Now, a strong storm in Ohio also wreaked havoc on a village. Take a look at this. This is a look at the before and after in Geneva on the lake. Winds picked up to 70 miles per hour and tore apart the Erie View Park Ferris wheel. This mangled mess is all that's left of the historic ride. The Ferris wheel made its debut in 1956 and was long considered an iconic part of the park. This Ferris wheel was considered the fifth model from George Ferris's original patents for his namesake creation. Despite all the wreckage, there were no injuries reported. All right, coming up next, coastal California is dealing with the impacts of a king tide. I'll look at the flooding, which peaked overnight. So we just showed you some of the damage from the severe weather around Erie View Park in Ohio. I want to talk about the severe weather outlook for the country over the next couple of days. You can see, as I mentioned, there was that rain and that flooding threat that is for this area, but there's also a marginal level 1 threat, but still a threat of severe storms down there as well. There's also a severe threat level 1 from southwest Missouri back across Oklahoma and into the Texas Panhandle, southern Kansas. So the areas around Wichita also under that level 1 threat. Level 2 threat, northern Indiana up into Michigan, and there's a level 2 or slight risk there in Iowa. That's the outlook for today. Could also see a few stronger storms from eastern Montana into North Dakota and northern parts of South Dakota. That's the outlook for today. My big concern, what I talked about right at the top of the show, the potential for a tornado outbreak comes tomorrow. This is the Wednesday severe weather outlook. And look at this, not 1, not 2, not 3, but a level 4 threat across portions of central Illinois and back over into northwestern Indiana. This is where it is very likely we are going to see widespread severe storms. And that level 3 threat, what we call an enhanced risk, okay, that extends down through St. Louis. So you have the marginal risk in green, what we call a slight risk in yellow. Then you get into the enhanced risk, that's level 3. When you see that, you plan on severe storms. When you have this 4th level, what's called a moderate risk, this is where you start looking for outbreaks. And unfortunately, the severe weather threat with this, it's not just gusty winds or maybe some large hail. You have this very elevated threat of tornadoes. So from central Illinois all the way through northern and central portions of Indiana, folks need to be prepared for that. Even St. Louis, areas off to the east of Kansas City, they're up through Chicago. These areas really need to pay very close attention. I'd say from the south side of Chicago back over towards South Bend, and you get into portions of oh gosh, you look down through Kankakee, back down through Champaign, Illinois, Lafayette. Here's Indy. Indy's kind of on the cusp of it with that level 3, same as St. Louis, but they need to be mindful that you could see tornadoes here. But I would say Springfield to Peoria, this area right in here has a very good chance to see powerful storms and a likelihood of tornadoes, and some of those could be very powerful. So we're going to be watching all of that carefully. Now that's for tomorrow. As we look ahead to Thursday, by late afternoon, you'll notice that severe weather threat has shifted to the east, and now we've got this area under this level 2 or slight risk, including most of Kentucky, all of West Virginia, much of Pennsylvania. You can see all of New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Northern Virginia included in this level 2 threat. This does include parts of the Northern Neck, Tappahannock, back over to Richmond, level 2 threat. Chincoteague, northern sections of the Eastern Shore under level 2. For Hampton Roads, it's just a level 1 threat. We could see a couple of strong storms late Thursday afternoon or early evening. It's certainly going to be hot. Whether or not that system arrives in time to produce those severe storms, we'll see. But I want folks to be mindful of that. We'll, of course, keep you updated as we watch how things play out over the next day or so. That's going to be a concern. Nothing severe right now out here, just some showers, more showers, and then that heavier rain, as we touched on earlier, down along the Gulf Coast. We're going to turn our attention out to the West Coast now, because California here along the coast and Southern California, they've been dealing with the impacts of a king tide. This is a look at crews in Los Angeles working to prevent tidal flooding overnight. That was when the king tide was going to peak, and as you can see, a bulldozer there moving sand as waves crash along the shoreline. Nicole Comstock has a closer look at what they were doing.
Putting in some last-minute work to reinforce these sand berms along the peninsula in Long Beach. Work crews are getting this neighborhood ready for powerful and potentially dangerous king tides. The higher than usual long-period waves typically happen during a new or full moon, as gravity pulls the ocean back and forth.
Like once or twice a year, I think this happens, where they just start dumping sand and
But I haven't seen this. This is new.
Neighbors tell us these wooden boards were just installed today because the tide was so high last night, it crested the berms.
No, this is brand new. The berm gets washed away, usually in pieces over a few days, but the chaps are out next morning kind of earlier than you really like them to be, but they come and rebuild it.
So it's hidden all along the coast.
A coastal flood advisory is up for LA County beaches through tomorrow. People are urged to stay out of the water as dangerous rip currents can pull swimmers out to sea and wash people off beaches. Long Beach and Malibu could see some minor coastal flooding during the peak of the event from 8 to midnight. Robert Smith says it can be unsettling to watch.
Well, look, I think it's breaching the berm. It's going to come over. And then we both said, oh my God, it's going to come over, not knowing if it would have a very bad effect.
We'll continue to watch that. Also in California, unfortunately, we have a sad update to a story we brought you last week. Here is Santa Cruz. A second woman has died after lifeguards pulled her from rough surf there at Santa Cruz. The women were rescued last Wednesday after officials said they appeared to be caught off guard by a fast-rising tide. The women were believed to have been sleeping on the beach at the time the tide came in. The women, who were both from Fremont, were 20 and 21 years old. All right, we are going to take a quick break. Next, storms bring a light show to the Northeast, but those strikes also caused major damage in one city. Plus, another meteor sighting, this time in the Midwest. We'll tell you about it coming up. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. Things very quiet, nothing showing up on the radar here around Hampton Roads or at our ocean front. I want to show you, though, New York City got quite the light show this week. Check it out. These pictures captured the moment several bolts of lightning struck the One World Trade Center. That strike made contact with the spire as a thunderstorm moved through the city. Well, about an hour away in northern New Jersey, lightning is most likely to blame for a fire at a shopping center in Franklin. This is a look at the aftermath. Meteorologists there say a lightning strike was recorded at the location just before the fire was reported Sunday night. A grocery store and a discount store were destroyed, but a neighboring laundromat and tattoo parlor survived. Fortunately, no one was hurt. And lightning wasn't the only thing lighting up the sky on Sunday night. Check this out. A possible meteor, well, it was a fireball that was a meteor, spotted soaring over several states in the Midwest. This video was taken in Alamo, Kentucky, but people hours away in Illinois also reported seeing it. Seems like we've been seeing a lot of those. Right now, we'll take one more live look outside and a quick break. Storm chances and temperatures are going to tick up across Hampton Roads. We'll talk about those, and we'll look ahead to Sail 250. We are gearing up here in Hampton Roads for Sail 250. Our waterfront is going to be filled with tall ships. It's going to be unlike anything most folks here in Hampton Roads have seen. If you were here for Op Sail 2000, and there was a second Op Sail in the early, I think it was mid-aughts. At any rate, it's incredible. Tall ships everywhere, something you want to check out. Here's a look at the 3-day forecast. Friday, we have the Parade of Sail around midday. There is a chance for storms during the afternoon. The ships will be in port over the Father's Day weekend. It is going to be a stormy one. The best way to stay in touch with us is by downloading our 13 News Now mobile app. We're just days away from this big event, and again, this is Sail 250 and the Juneteenth celebration. It's in Norfolk at the waterfront. We'll have extended coverage of the Parade of Sail, and you can follow it all with the 13 News Now app. Just scan that QR code to get the app on your phone or TV and stream for free. All right, as we finish up the show, I just wanted to give you a look again. Scattered showers or storms potentially on Friday. The weekend looks good into Monday. Temperatures warming back up. I hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. We'll see you next time.